Good morning, and welcome to this week's edition of Marquette in Motion. We're your hosts, Hallie Kilberg
and Miranda Peters.
Once again, we thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning. We've got another great show for you today, so let's get started. Miranda, do you own a Christmas sweater?
I do, Hallie. It's just basically a red sweater with a little white in there.
Well, unfortunately, Christmas sweaters have gotten a bad rap.
But
aren't they fun to look at? Those Christmas sweaters, ubiquitous with elementary teachers and loving aunts all over the country, were donned by numerous Marquette students yesterday.
Hallie and I will open segment 2 to tell you why.
Then, guest reporters Ellie O'Brien and Hannah Litterer will share some information on the Pulsera project.
That project is spearheaded by our Spanish teacher, Mrs. Lexi Stickrod, and the Spanish 1 students.
Jeb Schwager and Garrett Krieg will be here, as always, with the Marquette Sports Report.
Molly Minster and Maura Tracy will be here to interview senior Hannah Ray.
And don't forget, Miranda and I will be giving you all the details you need to stay updated on the latest Marquette events.
Now, because it's the holiday season, Hallie and I thought we would quiz our fellow reporters with some Christmas trivia. We invite you to feel free to play along at home.
Okay, so the way the quiz works is pretty simple. There will be one question for each reporter.
And if multiple reporters do get their questions right, we've got some bonus round questions, and they may be a little tougher. Is everyone ready to play?
Woo! Yeah! Okay, the first question is for Molly. Okay, in Charles Dickens' The Christmas Carol, what is Scrooge's first name?
Ebenezer Scrooge?
Yup, that's right. You'll be advancing to the bonus round. Congratulations.
Okay, now it's Garrett's turn. What holiday movie does our current president make an appearance in?
Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Nice. You'll move on to the next.
How did you know that?
Justina, you're up next.
Name 2 alternative names for Santa Claus.
Kris Kringle, and I don't know the second one.
Does anybody else have any ideas for a second name?
St. Nicholas.
Yep, but Kris Kringle was good, Tina.
And now for Jeb. On the 10th day of Christmas, what does my true love give to me?
That's a toughie. I have no idea.
The answer was 10 Lords a Leaping.
Okay, and the last one is for Maura. In the carol, It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas, what is the prettiest sight to see?
The holly that we bring.
Yep, we'll accept it. It's the holly that will be on your own front door. Okay, and now for the bonus round. This is going to be toss-up, so it's anyone's game. So if you know it, just answer it.
The first question is, who's Rudolph's friend, the misfit elf in the classic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Is it Henry?
I'm sorry, it is not Henry. It's close. That's close. Anybody know? It's Hermie. Very close.
The next question is, in the popular song Jingle Bells, the second verse begins with, a day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon who was sitting by my side?
Many people know the first verse, but in the second verse, it's soon Miss Fanny Bright was sitting by my side. Okay, this last one is multiple choice, so this one's really up for grabs. What does the Bible say that the innkeeper said to Mary and Joseph in Luke chapter 2, verse 7? A, there's no room in the inn. B, I have a stable you can use. C, come back later and I should have some vacancies. D, both A and B. Or E, none of the above. Maura?
E, none of the above.
That's right. In Luke chapter 2, verse 7, it says there was no room at the inn, but the innkeeper actually never speaks to Mary and Joseph. But don't worry, there's just enough room for 2 more segments, which will be up after the break. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Marquette in Motion. So, Hallie, aren't you glad your mom kept that hideous Christmas sweater in the back of her closet from the 90s?
It sure came in handy yesterday, as December 15th was National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day.
Now, listeners, I know what you're thinking. Why was school even in session on such a special day?
Well, the Bellevue Area Chamber of Commerce must have been thinking the same thing, because they sponsored an ugly sweater contest for businesses and schools in Bellevue. A little something to ameliorate the fact that the day has not yet been escalated to national holiday status.
There was a contest held yesterday for all of the students to show off the bells and whistles of their sweaters. And by the way, we're not talking figuratively here.
3 judges representing the Bellevue Chamber traveled to the businesses and schools in town looking for the ugliest Christmas sweater. Did they find one?
Well, a picture was taken and will be on our website for you to be the judge. But we do hope the photo helps you feel the Feliz Navidad.
Speaking of Spanish and Feliz Navidad, we have with us two guest reporters today, Ellie O'Brien and Hannah Litterer, to tell us a little bit about a special project involving their Spanish 1 class. Girls, can you tell us a little bit about the Pulsera project?
So the Pulsera project is basically people that live in very severe poverty countries who are unable to get a job to have a stable job. So they make their own bracelets and they sell them here.
Can you tell us what Pulsera means?
It's bracelet in Spanish.
Can you tell us how the Spanish 1 students are involved in the Pulsera project?
Well, for the Pulsera project, you would need a community to come and order the bracelets for them to make. So the Spanish 1 class has ordered those, so we will be able to sell them and then raise money for those people.
How much does a bracelet cost?
Pulseras cost $5.
How would a student get one?
Well, during the daytime, when high schoolers have break, they can go to Mrs. Stickrod's room and they can pick up a bracelet. But for middle school students and I guess elementary too, if they're over by the high school, they can pick one up in the media center after school.
Does any of the money made go to Marquette?
None of the money goes to Marquette. It all goes back to the workers in Guatemala and Nicaragua.
If any of our listeners want to be part of the Pulsera project, what should they do?
They should go and buy a Pulsera and maybe try and start a Pulsera project of their own.
Well, thanks Ellie and Hannah for joining us today to tell us about this great opportunity to support fair trade.
Speaking of being fair, let's give Jeb and Garrett the microphone now for their turn to tell us about Marquette's recent basketball contests.
Thanks, Hallie. To start out, we'll wrap up last week's results, starting with the home quad against Cal Wheat last Friday, December 8th.
The JV girls started the night with a win and a powerful presence on the court right from the beginning. Then the JV boys took the court against a tall and athletic opponent. Though the boys put forward a tremendous amount of effort, they came short of a win, losing by about 10 points.
Then the varsity girls took the court at 6 o'clock. This game stayed very close throughout the entire first half. However, the Marquette girls pulled ahead to take the win in the end, with a score of 44-35. Then the boys began a fast-paced, exciting matchup against an athletic Cal Wheat team. However, came up just short in the end, losing by 7 with a final score of 43-50.
The teams then took voyage across town to play the Bellevue Comets on Saturday, December 9th, with the action starting at 1.
The JV girls kicked off the competition, coming out with an impressive win against the Comets. The JV boys then took the court where they played a very close game all the way to the end, when they unfortunately lost by 4 points with a score of 27-31.
The varsity girls then took on a very skilled and ranked Comets team that proved to be a little more than the girls could handle. Though the game was still kept close, the final score was 34-54 with the Comet girls on top.
The varsity boys rounded out the action with an extremely hard-fought, quick-moving game. However, in the end, the Comet boys also proved to be a force to be reckoned with, beating the Marquette guys 49-56.
To start out this week in games, all Marquette basketball teams traveled to Miles to take on Easton Valley Riverhawks.
There, the JV girls started the night at 4 o'clock when they beat the Riverhawks by over 40 points. Then, the JV boys took the court in a well-fought game, though they weren't able to hang on to the win.
Next up was the varsity girls, who played very consistently throughout the game, coming away with a strong win with a final score of 55-43. Finally, the varsity boys took the court for an exciting game. However, Easton Valley's post presence and impeccable outside shooting was still enough to beat the boys, who hung within striking distance nearly the entire time, with a final score of 48-65.
The teams then took home court against an impressive Lisbon team yesterday, December 15th. However, those results against the Lions will be roaring back at you in next week's edition. And later this afternoon, the teams will be heading to El Burnett to take on the Pirates as well. Those results will also be in next week's edition. For Marquette in Motion, this has been Jeb Schwager
And Garrett Krieg
with your Marquette Sports Report.
Thanks, guys. Listeners, stay tuned. We'll be back with more Marquette in Motion right after the break.
Welcome back to Marquette in Motion. Molly and Moore are here with this week's interview. Take it away, girls.
Hi, I'm Maura Tracy.
And I'm Molly Minster, and today we are here with our senior interview, Hannah Ray. Thank you, Hannah, for joining us today.
Can you tell us a little bit about what events you're involved in here at Marquette?
I'm involved in dance and speech.
Do you know what college you'd like to attend and what you would like to major in?
I'm going to go to University of Dubuque and major in maybe nursing.
Do you have a favorite activity or hobby?
I love to dance.
We do too.
And now for some fun holiday questions. What's your favorite Christmas song?
Love Jingle Bell Rock.
That's
That's a good one. Who is your favorite reindeer?
Love Dasher.
What type of cookie do you think is the best to leave out for Santa?
Sugar cookie.
What is your favorite holiday tradition?
White elephant.
Could you explain that for us?
Each person gets a number, and the first person chooses a gift. You keep that. Second person, they can either take the first person's gift, or they can choose another.
Oh yeah, that's a fun game. And finally, on a more serious note, is there a quote or a piece of advice you'd like to leave us with today, Hannah?
The best preparation for tomorrow is doing your best today.
Very inspirational, Hannah. Thank you, Hannah, for letting us interview you today.
And from Market in Motion, this has been Molly Minster
And Maura Tracy.
with your senior interview.
Thanks, girls. And now to round out the show, we'll be looking ahead.
Today, the basketball teams will be boarding the bus and traveling to Alburnett to play the Pirates. This quad will start at 4 o'clock p.m.
On Monday, our junior high girls will be playing at home against crosstown rival Bellevue. This will be in the new gym starting at 4 p.m. This game will be the final game of the junior high girls this season, so come out and support.
Then on Tuesday, the high school will have a quad at East Buchanan.
Wednesday will be the last day that you can reserve next year's yearbook for the discounted price of $40. After that day, you'll have to pay $45.
Thursday will be the last day of classes. Then the students are off for Christmas break.
Friday, though, there will be a quad at home against Springville with the JV girls starting it all off at 4:30. If anyone is able to stay after that game to help set up for Christmas Eve Mass, it would be much appreciated, as that Mass will be held in the MEC at 4:15 p.m. on Christmas Eve.
And Marquette friends and family and alumni, don't forget to mark your calendar for January 19th, which is our homecoming game. We'll be playing CVC. That's Cedar Valley Christian, not consonant, vowel, consonant, with the JV game beginning at 4:45 p.m.
And we'll be here next week again at 11:45. Until then, this has been Miranda Peters.
And Hallie Kilberg.
And remember, stay informed, stay involved, stay
In motion.